Now it's Jamie that's on the back foot.
They've got Stormkeeper and Feral Affinity. Waz is in trouble. Chaz is crowd controlled. He's got Touch of Karma. Likely has to exchange it. Jamie grounds an incoming Maledict trinket, preventing its healing absorption effect for now, but a second is incoming. Jamie solo on health. A third is incoming, but there are Chaos Bolts flying in from Mercy. Barely gets the Touch of Karma. Perhaps they crack it. I don't think they can afford to. Jamie is so low. Drainer just doesn't have mana. Innervate's available, but he gets crowd controlled. He has to trinket. Now he's walking into a Cyclone potentially. Fully Cyclone. No defense for Drainer. As long as Waz can stay on target, Waz is going to be able to close this game out. Big damage, perfect crowd control, and definitely mistakes made on Drainer's part.
They're playing the Warlock and the Shaman and like you kind of stuttered on who the healer was because the healer was a sheep basically the entire game. Drainer was just tanking sheeps, and that was really the issue for them here.
Hey, Adrian, there's no need for catcalling here. Both these druids definitely doing a great job here, both running out of mana. You can see Drainer just trying to add a little bit of extra damage there onto Waz. And the reason why they initiate this attack on Waz here with the bash is because Waz has the Touch of Karma up. They know Waz is going to probably try to predict the Lightning Lasso with the Touch of Karma. Instead, he pre-fortifying brews that bash and then activates the Touch of Karma. Beautifully done there by Waz. Then, of course, they incapacitate onto Drainer, forcing out his trinket, and then Chaz using quite literally his final mana point there to get that Cyclone.
Raikou a lot in cat form, trying to add some pressure there. Infernal into triple Cap Totem. Beautiful stun lock combo. That's just going to net them a kill. Beautifully done by Zizon, and of course, down goes Raikou.
The setup here with the Cap Totem from Jamie and the Infernal Stun to kind of line that up, that was really, really nice. And of course, Drainer here being on Raikou actually adds so much damage here. Raikou getting Iron Bark there by Chaz. So Chaz right now is communicating like, hey, you're fine. But then the fear takes Raikou kind of on top of Chaz there. And then Jamie kind of splitting them up even more, getting a nice fear onto Raikou, and then we're going to see the Infernal Stun, Capacitator Totem now that they're all stacking up. There is the Vortex as well, beautifully done right there into the Cap Totem right there, and that's an easy block right there. Even a War Stomp into the double Immortal Coil there at the end to seal that one, and that entire time Drainer is just going at
Chaz, now in Immortal Coil. Mercy goes for a Chaos Bolt, fake cast, trying to fake the kick. Fears his Waz. Counter spell from Raikou denies the Chaos Bolt. Chaz is in a safe location. Drainer is totally tapped, and Drainer at this point has to just throw caution to the wind and push for damage and find a kill. He's not going to be able to heal. He's fully blinded. There's no Gladiator's Medallion. He cannot get out of crowd control. Jamie is all alone. Mercy needs to save him. He's feared Raikou, but Waz gets the sap. Jamie's still in a tough position here. It's looking like Method Black are going to hold on their swing match advantage. Polymorph secured, and Jamie falls. Method Black take game 3 and advance to match point.
Eventually, the Assassination Rogue will just take the game in his own hands and just win with the overwhelming amount of damage. He will be in a situation like here where Drainer has to use his trinket on, you know, a bash into a polymorph or something like that, and then he's susceptible to getting that full blind CC chain. Waz gonna be pulling the trigger here very, very shortly. Baits out the Iron Mark right there with the kidney shot, and then of course the Vendetta is gonna be coming back up very, very soon. You can see Drainer can't really do anything here to top off Jamie anymore. Jamie has to activate the Astral Shift as well, and that's just because of the Assassination Rogue's pressure at this point in the game. Having those mortal wounds plus, of course, the dampening just adds so much pressure. It makes it so hard for Drainer to actually keep his mana afloat. And then, of course, Chaz getting that drink earlier as well was very, very big here for Method Black.
This is where I liked it. They actually swapped to Chaz. If Raiku's playing way too defensive in the matchup, this is when they can get aggressive on the healer. Chaz still in a little bit of trouble. Chaos Bolt lands. Is he going to be able to survive? Earthshock! Drainer, I believe, actually got the killing blow there. Really nicely done.
It's so much damage. One Chaos Bolt connecting, out of a fear, out of a bash, and then the Elemental Shaman has such an easy time to assist with, you know, one of those big Earth Shocks. And we're going to see Jamie, he has his Maelstrom completely charged up all the way to max. You know, Counterspell is out of the way, and Chaz has already used his Trinket and his Bark Skin in that previous attempt. And here is a Fear onto Chaz. They're applying pressure onto Raikou, so it's very hard for Chaz to predict who is going to be taking the brunt of the damage when there is 2 pressure points like this. And Zizon in a great position position here already. They get crowd control onto Waz, and then Jamie sets up the lightning lasso onto Chaz, gets interrupted, but uses his pet stun right there, and then Zizon, of course, Mercy, of course, with the Mortal Coil, Chaos Bolt, and then Jamie finishing it off with a beautiful Earth Shock. These are the kind of plays.
Jamie is so far behind as a result of Drainer's mistake, and I'm not sure if he's going to recover. It's do or die. Drainer has no mana left, but Raikou has Ice Blocks to survive. Jamie is cycloned at low health. This is snowballing out of control. Method Black are in a dominant position. This game could end at any moment for them. Full blind secured, and that is easily the kill. Method Black take game 5 in advance.
It was a really nice setup here. Raikou starting it all off with that polymorph right there, and Drainer does have his Iron Bark active, but it's not going to be enough. Jamie using his Astral Shift here. Shaz trinketing to get the follow-up CC there with the bash into the Cyclone, and that forces out Drainer's trinket. So Raikou's polymorph essentially set up Method Black for forcing out the Astral Shift, forcing out the trinket from Drainer, and then here Chaz does such a great job. Clone into another perfectly timed clone, and that of course is resetting that diminishing return on Drainer from when he trinketed the clone into a full blind. They probably had a...
At any moment, if they interrupt Minpoike, even crowd control him for a second, they could just blast somebody out of the match. As in this situation, Acro is just dead.
Deleted.
Wildcard Gaming being behind the entire time. Kill him exactly after I finish explaining it. Perfect timing, Wildcard Gaming.
Minpoike, he had full mana. They were looking pretty healthy, but then, you know, Akrol's not having his trinket available, of course, is going to be a big problem for them. And if you get that big burst from Maro, when he gets the mini incarnation active after a certain amount of Star Surges has been used, then you can really just dish out that big damage, and that's exactly what happened here. I mean, Lightning Lasso, you see Maro getting the bash, and then of course that extra bit of damage with that Solar Wrath gonna deny Acro the Cloak of Shadows, and his trinket was almost up there as well at the end. So
soloing Blizzo. Acro may have been playing this way too aggressively. He's in a lot of trouble. He has to trade out potentially the Feint, the Cloak of Shadows, and the evasion, but Blizzo in the meantime falls through Iron Bark. That was big damage coming from Change My Mind.
A little bit sloppy there at the end. I mean, the anti-magic zone was available for Zeepai, came out a little bit too late there at the end, and Blizzo, he was going to have his Touch of Karma up in a couple of seconds, so it definitely felt like Wildcard Gaming was in the driver's seat here. You know, they were setting up aggressive plays after aggressive plays here. He had good pressure, but then, you know, Minpoike pushes in, gets the bash, gets the Cyclone, actually cancels it and gets the polymorph instead, and Blizzo gets caught up in a kidney shot behind the pillar. And since Fried Kitty actually can't connect here with his damage, I thought, okay, well, Blizzo's most likely going to be surviving here. He's going to have all of his cooldowns up. Blizzo trying to turn the pressure around there onto Acro, but then a big heal from Minpoike, a little bit late on the anti-magic zone, and you can see right there the Touch of Karma was about to be ready any moment there. So
Minpoike could be in some trouble. He jumps off the bridge in order to survive. Fried Kitty's been doing a great job making sure they keep control on Blizzo and Zeepai, and now an interrupt on Looney. Blizzo could easily fall, and does. Changed My Mind puts another point on the board, and now leading in the series.
Aggression coming out of Change My Mind. They apply so much pressure onto Looney, and they force Wildcard Gaming to kind of second guess themselves a little bit. Who are they actually going to be targeting? And it worked out nicely. I think they used the map as well to their advantage. It's not really a great map just because Fried Kitty doesn't really have that many options in where he can go, but with that said, he also can reset his Frozen Orb a lot on this map, and every single time they land a polymorph onto Blizzo and they cover it with damage onto Looney, that's a situation where they're essentially buying themselves time. So a lot of these Druid swaps definitely gave them a lot of the momentum that they needed here. And then of course we see the double leg sweep and the cross polymorph there stolen by Zeepai, kind of setting up a nice burst here onto Minpoike, but he can just as easily jump down and set himself up for a nice situation there. Blizzo, no Touch of Karma, immediate lockout there onto Looney, and that's all it takes.
Two members in crowd control, Zeepai all alone. Change my mind, looking to send him down to the lower bracket as Zeepai's on the run, trying to hightail it out to safety, but Gladiator's Maledict is going to absorb a lot of healing. Dark Iron Dwarf, Fireblood activated. Zeepai still low on health, but the crowd control is ended. They smoke bomb to stall the Iron Bark. They stun Looney from stealth to buy them even just an extra second. Looney has to trinket a diminishing return Cyclone. He's open to blind in the future, but I don't even think they need the blind. The pressure is so high. Maybe it's not enough, but even if they don't kill Zeepai, they cycle him at low health. Minpoike is playing out of his mind this entire tournament.
Good night.
Out of his mind. 3-1, advancing to face Method Black tomorrow.
We got to give it up for Fried Kitty at the end of that one. Sniping that sheep, immediately getting a nice Cyclone as well with Minpoike. I mean, both of those crowd controls just landed at the exact same time. Zeepai was completely locked down. Akra had free reign as well, saving his smoke bomb for the perfect opportunity right there. Such a beautiful cross CC right there. Maro's trinket not going to be up just yet, and you don't want to trinket out of a diminishing return Cyclone, so I don't really fault Maro for that. But then of course Minpoike is going to be able to follow up with a Cyclone onto Looney. Then the re-follow up is going to be stopped, but Minpoike is just going to re-stealth and stun Looney off of that, get a DR Cyclone as well, the smoke bomb as well, adding extra spice to everything. And then there's the Kleptomania Cyclone at the very last second of the kidney shot. Battlemaster trinket falls, and Acro prepares a nice juicy mutilate as well as the frozen orb as well. There's no way he survives that.
With a counterspell secured on the Drainer from Alec. Nixie is low at the same time. Chaos Bolt's being casted. Alec denies further follow-up. Cyclone full duration on Drainer, and they've used 2 defensive cooldowns before Vendetta. That's 3 seconds away. 3 seconds away until Jamie is almost certainly going to die. Alec is just going to ice block. They know they've got the game in the bag. They can just drop the Vendetta. Jamie gates to safety, but is it really that safe? Alec flurries out huge damage onto Jamie. As soon as Nixie connects, Jamie is just going to die. There's absolutely no way he should survive this Vendetta. He's on the run at 1%, but it is not enough. Totally tapped on mana.
And a big reason, of course, is the Kleptomania, which just allows the mage to strip the target of all of his buffs, forces the druid on the other end to reapply all of his healing over time effects, and just spend so much time healing from behind. And it's very, very effective. And then, of course, you combine that with the pressure from the Assassination Rogue, the Mortal Strike effect. You can't really out-heal it that easily. Jamie here doing a great job kiting, trying to avoid Nixie at all costs, and then he gets a nice fear there, a little bit of backup from Mercy. Then of course the gateway as well, but Nixie is a man on a mission, and of course Alec doing what he can, sniping up, and right there was that Kleptomania that we were talking about, stripping Jamie of all of his hots, and Drainer of course caught up in another crowd control chain, not really going to be able to do anything to keep his teammate alive.
But Nixie is still low. Asgrath is struggling at 38% dampening to heal 2 members of the team. Double stun. Alec respects it. Ice blocking immediately. Mercy sets up a fear. Potentially a game-winning Chaos Bolt. Cloak of Shadows at the last second. Asgrath jumps in, but he runs into a fear. Runs into another. 2 members are still low. Do they have any more crowd control for Asgrath? They may not even need it. They're in dire straits to kill Jamie. They stun lock him. They drop the smoke bomb, but Drainer's in position to more than easily recover. Momentum is now swinging heavily in favor of Zyzon. This Chaos Bolt could be the game winner. Alec blinks out of line sight, but it's not enough. Drainer jumps in for the final blow, and Zyzon throw that strategy completely in their favor.
It's so important as well to have pressure in multiple places. Like here towards the end, you had Nixie on low HP, you had Alec without ice blocks, and it makes the healer come out of a crowd control and kind of second guess himself. Who should I be healing? And it also just makes the healer fall behind, having to heal 2 targets like that. So nicely executed here by Zyzon to tie us up. And we're going to take a look at exactly what happened here. So Alec, he does have a block here to work with, but Nixie didn't have a cloak. It just came up right there, and Nixie again in the stun lock. Alec is low as well. Asgrath is in that situation that we were talking about where, okay, he has to heal Nixie, but now Alec is out of his ice block, and now Asgrath is getting feared into another fear here on his trinket, and he's just falling further and further behind. You know, Nixie has no cloak now. Alec has no ice block as well, so he uses a couple of globals to heal up Nixie, but then all of a sudden Alec is stunned up behind the pillar here, and 1 Chaos Bolt connect. Beautiful caps totem as well there from Jamie, and they managed to take Alec down.
Yeah.
Alec now pushing forward. They want to get the damage rolling. Asgaroth's completely out of mana, and Diabolus may have ran out of time at 46% dampening. I just don't see how they can recover in this situation. The only thing they have going for them is a strong single target damage over onto Jamie, but I don't think they have enough health to continue the pursuit. Jamie's just going to be able to use Ghost Wolf, run away, gets the Lightning Lasso over onto Alec. This could be the second Ice Block. Now truly there's nothing left for Diabolus.
Oh, they interrupt the demonic gateway that Mercy wanted to use to stop the drink, but Asgaroth didn't get any mana. His entire team is dead, and this is the power of the Warlock, Shaman, Druid. If they make it deep into dampening, your entire team is simply just DEAD dead, and Asgaroth has nothing. Drainer is walking all over him. He's doing what he can to somehow pull off a miracle. Perhaps a miracle. Perhaps a miracle, despite facing death right here. They pull it off. They take down Jamie, but they could.
At this point in the game, you just look at Zyzon. Everybody has their defensive cooldowns. No one on the side of Diabolos has their defensive cooldowns. Asgaroth completely tapped on mana as well, but Nixie somehow, some way is just chipping away slowly here at Jamie. And Jamie actually activates the Astral Shift fairly early on. There's a nice bash there onto Mercy to shut him down a little bit, and there is a fear onto Nixie. Here, I think Jamie and Mercy make a big mistake right there, chasing Alec, chasing Asgaroth. When Nixie was caught up in that fear, because he still has his Cloak of Shadows ready, they didn't really want to commit to him, but I think they should have, to just force him to run away so there's nobody dealing damage on the enemy team. Instead,
Nixie the target, definitely an open target. He has no Cloak of Shadows. Actually attacking Asgaroth. He's got no Gladiator's Medallion. A bit of a disrespect here. Mercy goes for an all-in. Maybe they find a kill off the back of this aggressive stance. They do! They take it. They go all in. They disrespect it, and Zyzon are going to take it.
They're all playing the Feral Affinity. If you can catch them, you can erase them immediately. So nicely capitalized there at the end of that one. And of course, I want to say, I think Zyzon deserved to have a little bit luck on their side there, allowing Jamie to survive after what happened in the previous game. So I think the greed from Drainer, it shouldn't have been rewarded, but in this case, Jamie did some good kiting, some good lasso defensively, and it netted them, the ability to survive for an opportunity like this to arise here. And you can see Asgaroth is just playing super carelessly, very, very aggressive in everybody's face, and Jamie fully loaded up with Maelstrom. He's gonna go ahead and get Asgaroth slightly lower. Asgaroth's still looking for clones, he has no idea what's about to happen, and there it is. Big Earth Shock, and then of course there's the bash. Chaos Bolt from Mercy even activates the Unending Resolve for good measure. Drainer coming in with the DR War Stomp as well. And
Thinks he could be in trouble. He's got no cloak. He's got to be careful. Lightning Lasso, fully channeled. Polymorph at the last second. Double Mortal Coil, dispelled instantly. Fear now into Nixie, setting up for a Chaos Bolt. How much damage can Mercy get out? He's got Infernals coming up soon. He could counter pressure. Mercy has switched up his pet, running to the Imp. I've seen him casting it a couple games right before it ended so that he could dispel crowd control. An interesting mid-game adaptation, switching from the Fell Hunter that's used for interrupts to the Imp, which can dispel magic, so he can get Drainer out of polymorphs. Maybe that's the X factor they need. Nixie's in trouble. Big Chaos Bolt hit onto Nixie. Another one. They've done it. Zyzon have done it. Jamie was not the problem.
We gotta give it up for Mercy as well. Resummoning that sneaky little Imp to dispel that sheep at the end there was a big factor for them. So really good job.
Yeah, it was interesting. You guys were talking about it as if like Diabolos is kind of like a book, and I mean, it's kind of like Game of Thrones in a way. 2017 was the peak, they won BlizzCon. This cup left a little bit to be desired. We'll have to see if they can pick it up going forward, but take us through these final moments, Z.
Yeah, it was over before we knew it, kind of like the last season. And you can see here, Jamie gets the final lasso, gets sheeped on it, and Diabolos on the back foot here. Mercy finally looking to get some Chaos Bolts out. There it is, Gladiator's Maledict, and it looks like the situation is kind of okay now. Nixie wants to go back on the offense, but no Cloak of Shadows available, only really a Vanish to work with here. He's not really going to do too much. Mercy trinkets out of the Cyclone, and he's spamming Fears here on Asgaroth to not get recycloned. Eventually he swaps it over to Alec to deny that counterspell. 2 quick Chaos Bolts to the face.
Gelu now on the back foot. Iron Bark is exchanged to reduce the damage on Gelu, but so difficult for him to recover. Where are the openings? Looney's trinket is coming up in 15 more seconds. Blizzo has his entire defensive lineup. Zeepai is more than healthy. This is looking better and better for Wildcard Gaming. Clyde stunned up. This could be an ice block. They stun Blizzo. They stall for just a tad bit longer. This temporal shield isn't going to be too big. Looney gets counterspelled. Maybe an opportunity. Clyde's moving across the map. Maybe looking for a cycle at low health. Fakes the Dark Simulacrum. Now Gelu's still low. Interrupted on Frost for one more second. Ice block. Nope. Wildcard Gaming take game one.
I'm not sure about the Mistweaver pick. It felt like kind of risky, but Looney manages to kind of weather that storm when he got swapped to, and it does add a bit of extra punch. It does add a lot of extra damage. You can see right there as well. Stopping Clyde there when he's going for that drink is pretty big for them, but I'm not sold on the Mistweaver. I would have loved to see Looney honestly just stay on the Resto Druid and just play with the same confidence that we know Wildcard Gaming has. And here, of course, the Maledicts are connecting, shutting down that temporal shield right there from Gelu. And then, of course, Gelu just taking a page out of Raiku's book, or I guess removing a page out of Raiku's spell book and not using his ice block there.
Mystic has his fire elemental in the fight. He's got Stormkeeper rolling. He can do a lot of damage if Blizzo isn't careful. One lightning bolt. Where's the two lightning bolts? Touch of Karma. Going to trade to actually cut through it. Blizzo is in a bit of a tough situation. Gelu seems to be all right with Blessing and Protection, although he's very low. Temporal Shield about to go off. Maybe he's not all right. Clyde is just totally tapped on mana at this point. He's in crowd control. Gelu's trying to pull off the miracle while his team basically has nothing left to work with. It's a race to the finish here now at 24% dampening. Two members on Chalky Milkman are low. Clyde has 0 mana to heal either of them, but Blizzo really doesn't have any options. But Gelu's looking like he's going to fall first. Fist of Fury flying, and Gelu Baba dying. Wildcard Gaming move to match point.
Zeepai was always on top of Gelu, making sure that he was interrupting the Keep, Greater Pyros, shutting down the Polymorphs, always staying on target. That anti-magic zone right there, split second too late, and Blizzo can easily go down. So there's a lot of trust between Zeepai and Blizzo, despite having a bit of a rough game against Change My Mind earlier on during the day. And it's nice to see again here Zeepai stopping the re-polymorph there, allowing Looney to get a little bit of healing off at least, and just trying to annoy Gelu as much as possible. And the setups from the Chalky Milkman, they didn't look too great. I think they should focus less on polymorphs. Absolutely not play Greater Pyroblast and just focus more on surprise one-shots. If they can get Blizzo to 80% or so, they can easily just one-shot him with a Hammer of Justice on Looney and a Lightning Lasso on Blizzo. They don't need to go for that big CC chain. The strength of this comp is that you can erase people.
Gelu is really vulnerable. Double leg sweep comes in from Looney. That was really nicely done. Ratcher and Clyde both trinket out of that. Here's the kidney shot on Blizzo. They have to survive. He has the Fortifying Brew. Is this going to be the miracle kill? Blizzo, he portals out of line of sight. Ring of Peace denies any sort of follow-up damage from Ratcher, and I think Blizzo might be able to hold on. He's still not topped off.
1 second.
There's a polymorph. He's got the Touch of Karma. He uses it. They're going all in on Gelu. Can he survive, Sid?
I can't believe Clyde is still healing with how much mana he's left in the tank. Divine Shield sacrifice, but it's not ultimate, so Gelu will still be taking some damage. Maybe it's just enough. Zeepai lobbing out some death coils, moving forward, looking to end this game. There's really nothing left for him. How is he still alive on 1% health? And they're both stunned. There's no way. Gelu falls. Valiantly fought by the Chalky Milkmen, but Wildcard Gaming seal the deal.
In the past, Chalky Milkman, Rogue Mage Druid, that's about it. Is it the Frost Mage? Is it the Fire Mage? That's about the versatility that they had. Today, sure, the Ellie Mage didn't look super convincing, but this definitely looked like a very, very nice game. And I think the biggest beacon of light, if you will, is Clyde on that Holy Paladin for sure. Keeping his team alive against Wildcard Gaming all the way to like 35, 36% dampening is definitely not an easy thing to do. He had good cooldown rotations, and he had good talents as well. And it was definitely a close game. Blizzo almost went down there previously as well. Looney barely hang on as well. And here, of course, at the end of this, such a nice setup here from Wildcard Gaming. They finally connect. They finally weather the storm. Pre-fortifying brew on the kidney shot. The Maledict is gonna come in and completely deny that cauterize as well right there. He gets the killing blow even. So nice offense, nice defense, and Wildcard Gaming definitely cleaned things up here in the lower bracket.
Perhaps just kill them outright. Big attack here by Raikou. That's going to be Void Shift. Valet switching his health for Minpoike's right before Minpoike died. And now they actually switched to the Shadow Priest, which is a common strategy when Void Shift is used. Valet is holding on without having to use Dispersion, which is good for his team overall. They would be almost guaranteed to lose if they did have to use both at the same time, but they may still. I mean, the pressure from Method Black is so high. Acro tries to stabilize, but Minpoike's crowd control. Dispersion has to be traded. Valet almost going down through it. Acro disrupts the polymorph, allowing Minpoike to get out of crowd control, but Waz continues the chain using the kidney shot for crowd control rather than damage. Good adaptation here to get another polymorph. Perfect crowd control chain by Method Black is looking to secure the game. Game number 1 to Method Black, very important.
In Method Black, total domination in this game. They had so many good swaps. They forced out Acro's defensive cooldowns. They blinded up Minpoike, made an attempt onto Acro, forced out Minpoike's trinket. Then they swapped over to Minpoike, forced out the Void Shift, Cyclone Minpoike, going on to Ville, and they get his dispersion as well. And then here they do another crowd control here with the polymorph from Raikou, and of course the Cyclones from Chaz, and that's going to be enough to take Ville down here. No more defensives available, and that's really nice. When you play the Rogue Mage Druid, you're kind of swapping between the targets. You go on the Rogue, you can force out the Druid's trinket with a blind because you have so much pressure. Then you can go on the Druid, he doesn't have a trinket. You can force out some of that utility from the Shadow Priest.
Can they kill Waz before they're just totally tapped out? Valet disperses during Smoke Bomb, fair trade there, but won't have dispersion in a minute now for Vendetta. That's very deadly moment of opportunity for Method Black. If they can make it to that point, though, they've got Chaz crowd controlled. They don't get any follow-up, and that's... Oh, they finally do. They get the Cyclone on Chaz, but Acro is polymorphed away. Raikou immediately Frost Novaing Acro out of the chain. Acro just not moving for such a substantial amount of time, and now Method Black look to counter-engage. No one can deny the crowd control. Minpoike is taken out of the fight. Valet is so low and healthy. He wants to Void Shift and save the Gliders medallion, but he's out of line of sight. He's out of line of sight and can't switch his health to break the polymorph. Unfortunate for Change My Mind.
Method Black, they had all their defense available, and Method Black were in the driver's seat. Raikou getting so much crowd control, and Method Black just did a good job swapping around it. Every time Raikou polymorph Ville, they would go after Acro, then they would polymorph Acro, go after Ville. They would set up swaps on Minpoike as well. Just constant pressure everywhere. And of course, the kleptomania is such a big reason as well why the mana looks the way it does. Chaz able to sneak away for drinks anytime Method Black sets up one of these crowd control chains. And of course, the kleptomania just burns so much mana, just using it on cooldowns, doing setups, and that's ultimately what got them the win here. Of course, the last part of the game was so well executed. Acro's caught up in a whole bunch of crowd control with the Frost Nova and the polymorphs right there. Minpoike getting bashed and into a polymorph behind the pillar, and then of course Acro here getting cycloned. Now Minpoike, he should trinket this polymorph and just walk into Ville's line of sight, or Acro should trinket the cyclone there, and nobody responds, and you can't Void Shift a cyclone target, of course.
No dispersion, no trinket, no void shift, no anything. Acro's going to have to pull out some sort of miracle in order to keep him alive.
Chaz is going for a drink. If Minpoike moves to stop him, then he can't heal Valet. So Chaz is likely to regenerate a lot of mana, or Valet will die. It's basically checkmate for Change My Mind. It's unmatched points, and Minpoike is Cyclone. There's nothing left. Valet gets crushed.
Oh!
The blind?
The blind on the Waz. Can Valet survive? No. Big shatter combo coming in from Raikou. And honestly,
this was the best game. There was a really nice opportunity there onto Waz. They had a full sap onto Chaz, and there was no trinket and no defensives available, but Raikou came in clutch with the Pet Nova onto Acro, and then of course the polymorphs to back that up as well, and he bought Waz enough time to survive, and then Chaz of course came out of the crowd control, and here at the end as well, the checkmate situation here. Minpoike, what are you going to do? Are you going to help Ville here, or are you going to stop Chaz's drink? whatever you decide to do, it's not a great situation to be in. If you decide to stay and heal up the Shadow Priest on your team, well, guess what? Chaz is going to come back with half mana, 60% mana, and then you're most likely going to lose the long game.
I do see potential for multiple members in this game to die at the same time. There is still now finally damage sinking in on Tomorrow and Zeepai. The Shadow Priest dots at 50% dampening are going to be effective. Valet using his Gladiator's Medallion to remove the Lightning Lasso, so he does not take the percent health damage, but Fried Kitty has no Icebox remaining. Minpoike is in a Polymorph, unable to heal. Cold Snap in 8 more seconds. Can Wildcard Gaming kill before that period of time? They're not even going to go after the Mage, instead switching back to Valet. He is an immobile target on that Shadow Priest. It will be very difficult for him to escape to safety. His healer is still crowd controlled. Valet doing everything that he can to make it to that 60% dampening mark to maybe have a shot, but ultimately not able to make it all of the way.
You can always rely on the Lightning Lasso in deep dampening to do work for you. Of course, big Earth Shocks are going to be forcing Fried Kitty to have no ice blocks and just kind of play very defensively, and that's going to just allow Maru to dish out so much more damage, and I think that's a big reason why this composition is so good. You can see Zeepai again just chasing everybody down, thunderstorming people actually into that Ring of Frost of Maru, and they have this kind of triangle formation where Zeepai is on one end and of course Maru is on the other end, and when you're relying on the Shadow Priest to do a lot of the work, you do need a bit of dampening. Shadow Priest is more like a kind of hybrid support and damage dealer, whereas the Elemental Shaman just packs a much bigger burst with things like the Stormkeeper, with things like the Lightning Lasso and the Earth Shocks. You don't really have that same burst, and when it comes to these Wizard Mirrors, it's not always the DPS that wins, because the Shadow Priest does do more DPS. It's more about the burst.
Their abuse of the map that Changed My Mind picked is on point. They've now developed a significant lead moving into dampening. They've got great crowd control in this position with 3 members locked down. They're trying to follow up with Big Burst. Ray of Frost is going to get Cloak of Shadows. Acrolol now needs to be careful, as he will not have that immunity to effectively all of the damage on Wildcard Gaming's team. The most powerful cooldown in the arsenal of Change My Mind is now not available.
Yeah, Cloak of Shadow, such a powerful ability for Acro. Anytime Wildcard Gaming can force that out, it allows Acro to be such a vulnerable target for 2 minutes. He's got about 1 minute and 40 seconds left until that cooldown rolls back up once again. But as a rogue, you have to be very careful. So far, Acro's been doing a good job rotating through his defensives, but he actually opts to use his Trinket and Vanish aggressively. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get too much done. He's just going full-on crowd control right now onto Looney. He has his Trinket. Zeepai is just getting lower. Unfortunate. Good crowd control coming in from Acro, and I think that will beat the game. Tied up here.
I think the strategy of Change My Mind is more to just stay back and then Shadow Step Kidney whatever they can, and then later on in the game they can get a nice CC chain and potentially pressure somebody down. They have a lot of dispels. I don't think the matchup is bad, but I think picking it on Ashamains is it's kind of brave.
Zeepai's in a lot of trouble, and this is what I'm talking about. The Assassination Rogue on that Elemental Shaman, it can become very scary, especially at 45% dampening. Shadow Step Kick incoming from Acro. He's still all over Zeepai. Zeepai's trying to escape. He's trying to run away. Garrote Silence comes in. This could be the setup that they need. They're losing all game, but at 48% dampening, they turned it around. Zeepai barely holding on. Lightning Lasso onto Acro. Looney getting out of crowd control, but he does not have enough time.
That was such a nice play by Maru. Trinketing, heads up play there after Looney got counterspelled to try to shut down the CC chain, blocking the re-polymorph from Fried Kitty. Both of these mages playing amazingly. Manages to kind of weather the storm, shuts down Minpoike, lands a polymorph, but Acro Man at 44% dampening, doing so much damage, really hard carrying here. Of course, playing with the sprint freedom talent essentially, and the Shadow Step Kick uses the sprint, of course, to stick on his target afterwards as well, and it's not very often. I think it might be the first time ever I'm actually critical of Zeepai and Looney here, but the way that they're kiting, they are way too close for each other. Right there, Step Kick, and he's immediately back on target. You want to be a little bit more scattered there if you're Zeepai and Looney, and then, of course, Acro following it up there with the Shadow Melt, gets the cheap shot. Minpoike, of course, ready to back him up with the Cyclone, with the Star Surge, and then Fried Kitty finally connecting to his target. They're dropping the Frozen Orb, hitting nobody, but that doesn't matter. There's the Comet Storm as well to seal the deal.
Change my mind, can 100-0 Looney if they properly crowd control Z-Pie. Anti-magic zone's the only thing that could keep Looney alive, really.
Ooh, touch of death.
But here comes a big push. Iron Bark needs to be enough. Will it be is now the question. Touch of Death about to explode. It's a big hit. Dampening is very high. Blizzo in a bit of trouble at the same time. He's afraid. He actually portals away and abandons the kill on Fried Kitty. Now he's still low on health. Looney is crowd controlled. Touch of Karma. Blizzo's 1v1ing Acro in what could be the final seconds of the match. Acro goes for a vanish play, setting up even more damage, but Looney's out of crowd control.
Acro could just die.
And Acro doesn't. It's looking like we're going to a game 5. Minpoike gets it interrupted, and Acro loses the 1v1 behind the pillar.
Unfortunately, by pushing him behind that pillar, he forces Minpoike to go to the side there. And of course, when Minpoike has to go to the side there, that opens him up to getting paralyzed, to getting interrupted by Z-Pie, of course, who has a ranged interrupt. And I think that's the big misplay here, because after Minpoike got that drink, it really looked like Change My Mind were going to take this one. I like that they started going after Blizzo. I feel like going after Looney is just the wrong target, period. So going after Blizzo was nice, but here is the misplay. Acro goes in, gets a nice kick onto Looney, trinkets out of the stun, gets kind of baited here into a false sense of security because he still has his feints. There it comes out. His Gladiator Safeguard procs as well. There's the vanish, and he tries to actually, I believe Looney used his Aura Mastery right there on that Garrote, and then of course Minpoike has to push in into melee range, immediately gets cross-kicked by Z-Pie, and that's it.
Luna gets caught into a full polymorph, and now Z-Pie's in trouble. He has the anti-magic shell. They shred through it, 52% dampening. He's got no self-healing. Looney has to start finding some heals. Anti-magic zone gets used. Bash coming in from Minpoike. Great crowd control. Looney still in trouble. Life Cocoon gets used. Full stun now over onto Acro. Fried Kitty trying to do as much crowd control as possible. Manages to find a polymorph onto Looney. Do they have the damage to take down Z-Pie? Full bind on Looney. He's trying to stay alive. Acro's also low in the meantime. This could be a cross kill. I don't know if Z-Pie is going to be able to hold on.
Yes. Nice
counterspell by Fried Kitty. Z-Pie, I don't think you're getting out of this one. And ultimately Change My Mind in a beautiful game.
And honestly, it's not often that I criticize Looney. Barely ever happens, but at the end of this one, Looney got way too hungry for the kill because he activated his Way of the Crane when he had no mana whatsoever. And of course, Way of the Crane is an ability you can use when you are counterspelled, which means that as a monk, you can tank a counterspell, and then you can just activate your Way of the Crane, and you can go in and get a bunch of healing. What he did is, you're going to see exactly right there. Way of the Crane activated. He is not on Polymorph Diminishing Return. Fried Kitty realizes immediately.
Oh, wow.
Polymorphs him on the Way of the Crane. This is a massive misplay on Looney's part, because now his Way of the Crane barely gets any value whatsoever. He doesn't have his Thunder Focus T, which means that he has to fake cast the interrupt, and Fried Kitty at this amount of dampening can just safely hold on to his counterspell for as long as he needs. That Life Cocoon is not going to be doing too much work. Fried Kitty just waiting. There's the Thunder Focus T. It's not going to be enough. There's a Maledict as well, soaking some of that healing up. And there it is. Boom. Immediate counterspell from Fried Kitty. Here would be a prime opportunity to use that Way of the Crane and potentially heal up Z-Pie, because it is the most effective healing you have as a monk, the biggest burst healing you have.
Yep, kidney shot on Raikou. This is definitely the best game we've seen out of Change My Mind. 36% dampening. The offensive dispel coming in from
Beautiful
Balea
kick.
is really strong. Acro once again making plays. Kick onto Chaz. Raikou could be in some trouble, but keep in mind, if Raikou decides to just use Shimmer to blink away, there's no opportunity for Acro to really reconnect. He doesn't have the cooldowns he needs if he just gets snared up. Raikou just spamming Frostbolts into that Cyclone, trying to connect a snare, trying to just build some damage for his team. This is an opportunity here for Method Black to go after Acro if they really want to. Minpoike completely tapped on mana. Keep in mind, although there's been good damage onto Raikou, he still has an Ice Block. Chaz has a mana lead. Acro could just fall easily. There's a Cyclone on him. Minpoike. Valet gets locked out. Void Shift comes in, but now they don't have that safety net to fall back on. I just don't know if Acro's ever going to recover, and he doesn't. Method Black in the grand finals up 1-0.
They had a lot of good pressure onto Raikou, but in the same breath, Raikou can always just go back, and Chaz can always free him up, get some Cyclones onto Acro here, and then of course, whenever Waz overextends behind the pillar, so does Acro, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, and it always comes down to mana, and Minpoike seems to always be on the losing end of that mana, and there it is, Kidney Shot, Frozen Orb, counterspell on Villae, and of course, Villae is taking so much cleave damage from that orb that his Void Shift actually doesn't end up doing anything here, which I'm not sure if that's what they were banking on, to maybe get a big Void Shift there at the end and then be able to take down Waz, but it seems so risky.
Fried Kitty on the back foot. He still doesn't have his ice block for another 56 seconds. Minpoike completely out of mana. Chaz in the blind uses a trinket to stay alive in the fight to keep the aggression going.
You have to kill Waz and Smoke Bomb. You don't have a choice. You've got no time left. There's 2 ice blocks for Raikou. He pops Icy Veins. Fried Kitty, there's no way you should make it out alive. If Raikou even gets 1 flurry, Fried Kitty is going to explode. Chaz is getting perfect Cyclones chained together. Polymorph out of it. Beautifully done by Method Black. They've managed to pull it back together off of Raikou's perfect defensive play. And Fried Kitty's looking like he is going to fall. How on earth is he still alive at this point?
He's
holding on, but ultimately falling. Method Black continue their lead 2-0.
You got to give it to Raikou as well. He played this game really, really well. He was on the back foot pretty much the entire game from the onslaught of Change My Mind, but finally here he greets it out, holds out on both of his ice blocks, even reverses the pressure onto Fried Kitty, and then at the end of this game where he gets that polymorph, that was really big as well, of course. So Method Black, they were, you know, they didn't look great in this map. It looked like they were getting outplayed pretty hard, but unfortunately for Change My Mind, they managed to actually tie it around here. And this polymorph right there, if you look at Minpoike's frame right there, if you time your polymorph on a Cyclone target so that the polymorph lands as the Cyclone is ending, the Druid actually cannot shift it. So that's not a misplay on Minpoike's end. There's just nothing he can do about that. Perfect timing from Raikou, and it nets them the kill.
Fried Kitty is just attacking Chaz almost randomly, but it could open an opportunity to kill him in a stun. Both teams, I mean, at this point, it's absolutely insane. Minpoike gets sapped when he's trying to drink. Acro is in a lot of trouble. Fortunately, he saw the attack coming and activated Feint. It reduced a lot of damage during the stun. Minpoike now breaks out of crowd control. Acro looks to reverse the pressure. He's got a sliver of health. Raikou is just trying to finish him. Waz could be in trouble, but manages to survive. Vendetta is still rolling. Acro is so low. Minpoike has nothing for 10 more seconds. Acro is looking like he's going to be going down. Method Black in the driver's seat. Acro barely holding on. Stun connects. He decides to tap out. We don't very often see a player tap out, but Acro taps out.
It looked like Change My Mind actually were winning that one. It looked like they had all the pressure. They had a full blind onto Chaz. They had the Vendetta active on Waz. He was low, but Waz, such a smart player, realizes, well, we're not going to win on crowd control, but we are winning on the mana, so we're going to go ahead and blind up the Rogue. We're going to try to just survive for now, and then we're just going to, you know, do as much damage as possible to Fried Kitty, do as much damage as we possibly can to everybody, and then eventually Minpoike completely out of mana, and they find themselves a kill onto Acro. Actually, they didn't even kill him, but he was dead. I mean, he knew it for sure. And here was that play right there. Minpoike trying to sneak away for a drink. Actually, trinkets there. And I mean, it doesn't really matter too much here. Acro is completely, you know, on his own. No Cloak of Shadows, no evasion. Minpoike as well, 0 mana. So his trinket is not going to cost him too much. And here, as soon as this kidney shot lands here, there's not much you can do here, Acro. He's on 10%. His healer has nothing, and that's just yeah.
Quick vanish.
Change My Mind are finally getting some momentum here, looking like they're at least going to be able to put a point on the board. Smoke Bomb gets dropped from Acro. He's trying to set up a kill on Waz and also prevent Waz's pressure with this Vendetta currently activated. So a bit of a 2-for-1 on that Smoke Bomb. Even though they don't get the kill, they stall a kill attempt by Waz. Now they mix it up. They go after Chaz again. They get his Glider's Medallion. Now Blind is a potential win condition moving forward, as Waz is limited in his defense at this current moment in time. Change My Mind have the mana lead. They have the cooldown lead respectively as well, and perhaps can swing this back if they keep it up. But now Method Black once again go for an attack on Minpoike. He saw it coming. He activated Iron Park on himself, but is it really going to be it's match point? The first cup on the line here as Minpoike is being pressured incredibly hard and will fall to the swap. Method Black mixing it up time and time again. Clean 7-0 for the day against Change My Mind.
The mage race strategy, where it's about controlling the druid and going after the mage. Then of course is also the setting up big one-shots on the rogue, trying to take him down in a stun lock. We've seen that. And then of course they had to perfect the trifecta here and go after Mimpoike as well and take him down at the end of it. The map is of course a big factor. Whenever I see a small map locked in like this, it does usually end up in a tunnel the healer kind of race. It's very hard for these mages to kind of protect their druids on small maps like Hook Point, like Dalaran Sewers, and I like the target calling, I like the target choices. It shows both teams are willing to adapt depending on what map they're on. Mimpoike here, of course, pre-Iron Box stun, which is very, very nice, but too much damage there with those Maledicts, with all of the damage from that Frozen Orb as well. And Waz, of course, coming in with the Vanish, having that extended stun lock with the Kidney Shot Bash into the Garrote, into the Re-Garrote as well. So really nice kill setup there from Method Black, and they take the first cup.